Can you feel it? That tension in your chest that appears out of nowhere. The racing mind, as if trying to escape something you don't even know. The constant fear that something might go wrong, even when everything is fine. And worse, no one around you really understands what's going on inside you. You smile and say everything is fine. But inside, it's like you're screaming and no one hears. Now, stop for a moment. What if I told you that this anxiety consuming you is not the real problem? What if it's just a symptom of something much deeper emerging from your psyche? Carl Gustav Jung, one of the greatest thinkers in psychology, believed that anxiety was not a failure, a simple chemical imbalance. To him, anxiety was a call from the soul, indicating that parts of you have been neglected, suffocated, or denied to the point that they are now trying to resurface with force. Have you ever wondered why you feel so much anxiety without an apparent reason? Or why, even trying to control thoughts, meditate, or follow advice like think positive, the feeling remains like an invisible shadow chasing you? Maybe it's because you're trying to silence the messenger without hearing the message. Jung said that neurosis is always a substitute for legitimate suffering. In other words, anxiety arises when you avoid what needs to be faced, an old pain, an uncomfortable truth, a part of you locked in the basement of your mind, believing you would never have to face it, but the psyche thinks differently. Anxiety is an alarm. This video is not a superficial self-help guide. I won't tell you everything will be fine, because it may not be if you continue ignoring what your soul has to say. This video is a mirror. And if you have the courage to look until the end, you may find something no one ever showed you. The true meaning of your anxiety and how it can transform from enemy to guide. So, the choice is yours. Will you continue running or face what haunts you? The anxiety you feel is not random. It didn't come from nowhere, and it's definitely not just a chemical imbalance as you've been led to believe. For Jung, psychological symptoms are symbolic expressions of deep processes in the psyche. Anxiety, specifically, is a sign of internal conflicts, not conscious ones, but archetypal battles between who you are and who you intend to be. Jung believed that within us live universal archetypes, primordial images of the collective unconscious. They are not just mythological symbols, but living forces that direct your thoughts, emotions, decisions, and deep fears. When these archetypes come into conflict, you notice. When one is denied, be it the shadow, the self, or the inner hero, your psyche does not stay silent. It expresses itself as anxiety, not caused by excessive thoughts, but by disconnection. When the ego, identified with the social mask, routine, and control, distances itself from the unconscious, a rift is born. You feel insecure, fear the future, and experience an insatiable emptiness, even when everything seems fine. Why does this happen? The unconscious seeks to restore balance and draw your attention. When living only to meet external expectations, maintaining an image and following a script that is not yours, you are denying your soul. The neglected soul manifests first as discomfort, then as anxiety, and if ignored, as collapse. Jung saw anxiety not as an enemy, but as a messenger bearing a call to individuation, the path to becoming who you truly are. For this, it is necessary to recognize the message, metaphor, symbol in anxiety. Something in you needs to die for another part to be born. But the ego fears this transformation and resists. Here is the true battlefield. Do you feel you have no control? Maybe because control was never real, just an illusion. Anxiety reveals a chasm between who you are and who you appear to be. If this chasm is not faced, the emptiness will only grow. But what really hides in this chasm? What is being rejected, repressed, forgotten? In the next section, we will dive deeply, exploring the darkest recesses of your psyche to unravel the connection between anxiety and shadow. By facing this dark part, perhaps you'll realize that your anxiety is not here to destroy you, but to awaken you. If this content resonates with you, don't hesitate to subscribe to the channel. We greatly appreciate your support. From an early age, we were conditioned to be acceptable, to hide certain emotions, to repress shameful thoughts. You learned to smile when you wanted to scream, to be kind when you felt anger, to appear secure when you were falling apart. Over time, you created a persona, a social mask, burying everything that didn't fit into it. The truth, however, is that everything you've buried is still alive. Jung called this side of you the shadow. The shadow is what you don't want to be, but are, what you don't want to feel, but feel. It is fear disguised as anger, anger transformed into silence, insecurity covered by control. When living only the acceptable side, you become captive to the shadow. It emerges in the form of anxiety. Here, anxiety is an alarm triggered by rejected parts of yourself. The shadow knocks on the door of your consciousness, demanding attention. Ignored, it screams louder. Palpitations, sweats, insomnia, persistent thoughts arise. But why is this? You focus on the symptoms, but the root is in the unconscious, where the shadow resides. Suffering, suffocated, crying for recognition. Have you questioned disproportionate reactions? Panic in the face of small things? Self-sabotage when everything is going well? It's not bad luck, nor weakness. It's the shadow seeking to restore psychic balance, saying that you can no longer pretend it doesn't exist. Society, however, reinforces this disconnection. It rewards you for productivity, apparent confidence, maintaining appearances. Keeping up this appearance demands a high price. It costs your authenticity, your emotional health, and your inner peace. Jung said that enlightenment does not come with fantasies of light alone, but by making the darkness conscious. The true cure for anxiety is not in suppressing symptoms, but in facing the truth they reveal. And this truth can be harsh. You built your identity based on half of your soul, while the other half cries out to be heard. But how do you listen to a part of yourself that you fear? How do you converse with the shadow without being engulfed by it? The answer lies in the body. Before emerging as thought, the shadow manifests as sensation, anxiety, tension, and physical pain. Your body is what carries the conflict that your mind doesn't want to see. In the next section, we will explore why anxiety is not just in your mind, but also in your body, becoming the battleground between who you are and who you pretend to be. Your anxiety does not live only in the mind. It settles in the body, in tense muscles that go unnoticed, in the stomach that hurts for no reason, and in the chest that burns as if about to explode, in the lump in your throat that prevents you from expressing your feelings. These symptoms are not merely physical, they are psychic. They are the reflection of the internal conflict between the ego craving control and the soul seeking liberation. Jung believed that the body is the reflection of the unconscious. When what is repressed doesn't find a symbolic way to be expressed, like dreams, art, writing, or internal dialogue, it manifests physically. Anxiety is one of the most intense expressions of this manifestation. The soul's cry, ignored for so long, screams through the body. How many times have you felt your body on alert, as if in front of danger, even knowing everything is fine? This is the unconscious trying to take control because your consciousness has stopped listening. The nervous system is on high alert, as if a predator lurks. But the predator is not outside, it is within. It is the repressed content of your psyche that has become unbearable and now expresses itself as physical urgency. That is why superficial techniques rarely work. Deep breathing, taking a cold shower, or thinking positively may offer temporary relief, but do not solve the issue, because the problem is not the body. It is the rift between body and soul that needs to be healed. Anxiety is the body trying to compensate for a silenced soul. Jung interpreted the body as symbolic, the stage where psychic dramas unfold. An anxious body carries secrets, unexpressed emotions, unacknowledged traumas, ignored needs. Each symptom is a plea from the unconscious to integrate what is hidden. You are exhausted, not just because of your intense routine, but because your soul is in silent war. And this struggle exacts a price. Chronic tension, insomnia, inexplicable pains, a constant feeling of threat. Your body pleads for reconnection, to be heard, for authenticity. But how do you turn your body into an ally rather than treat it as an enemy? How do you shift from a logic of battling symptoms to one of listening and integration? In the next section, we will explore the true antidote to this anguish, the path of individuation, a profound journey proposed by Jung, where anxiety transforms from a burden into a compass. You are not destined just to survive. You are here to become who you truly are. Yet no one taught you how to do this. From an early age, you were conditioned to conform to standards, expectations, and norms. You learn to adapt, seek approval, remain silent, avoid conflict, follow rules you don't even understand. Amidst all this, you lost the sense of who you really are. The center is gone. It is precisely in the space between your true self and the self fabricated to please that anxiety sprouts. Carl Jung described the journey back to our true self as individuation. Do not mistake this for selfishness or superficial self-assertion. Individuation is a profound process, at times brutal, of reconnecting with everything you have denied in yourself. It is the rescue of wholeness, where anxiety ceases to be a symptom to battle, becoming instead an alert finally acknowledged. To individuate is to accept that there are parts of you forgotten, wounded, silenced, crying to return. It is facing the shadow, recognizing the persona's masks, and understanding the archetypes that influence your most intimate decisions. It is to stop asking, "How should I be?" and start asking, "Who am I really?" But do not think this path is easy. It is a descent into old fears, painful truths, and unresolved choices. It is shedding the idealized image and confronting the fragmented self left behind. In this context, anxiety is a guide, highlighting the places where you still live half-heartedly, where you still pretend, where you still fear to be authentic. Jung said that healing happens when we become who we truly are. This implies abandoning the desire to please, control, and satisfy external expectations. It means making peace with your history, traumas, light, and darkness. It means integrating, not excluding. And in doing so, something profound happens. Anxiety begins to dissolve, not because it has been defeated, but because you finally understood what it wished to communicate. It was not a problem, it was a guide, an internal compass saying, "Wake up, return home, be whole." The question is, how do you do this in practice? How to step out of autopilot and start this journey authentically? How to transform suffering into symbol? How to dialogue with the unconscious without being dominated by it? In the next section, we will explore the tools Jung left for this reconnection. Symbolic rituals, silence, dreams, and the power of solitude. Tools forgotten in a world that only knows haste, but can be the key to your internal freedom. Conditioned to seek quick solutions, the sleeping pill, the motivational podcast, the video that promises quick tips, you need to face the truth. There is no instant solution for an old suffering. There is a process which begins when you quiet down, listen to yourself, and accept to dive into the invisible. Jung saw the human being not as a machine to fix, but as a soul needing integration. For this, 3 practices are essential: silence, symbolism, and solitude. In the incessant noise of the modern world, silence is a luxury. For Jung, it was the beginning of a dialogue with the unconscious. While you get lost in noise, notifications, and external obligations, the most important voice remains muffled, yours. Silence is not a void, but a portal. It is where repressed contents emerge, symbols come to life, and dreams regain their meaning. Silence is the language of the soul. It is in this silent space that symbolism emerges. Jung taught that the unconscious communicates through symbols, images carrying deep meanings, often beyond rational understanding. Ever had a disturbing dream and woke up not understanding it? Ever felt a strange connection with a seemingly trivial song or image? These are symbols, keys, fragments of your soul trying to say, "Hey, I'm here, recognize me." Interpreting these symbols is a psychic alchemy, requiring you to see beyond the surface. A dream of falling may be a warning of loss of control. A constant feeling of weight on your shoulders may symbolize responsibilities that are not yours. Anxiety is, in fact, a symbol, signaling a rift between what you live and who you truly are. But none of this can be accessed without solitude. And remember, solitude is not isolation. Isolation is escape. Solitude is presence. It is the sacred space where you stop acting and start listening. Jung saw solitude as an essential ritual for transformation. In solitude, the ego loses the illusion of control, and the self begins to manifest. It is where dreams reveal themselves, symbols organize, and internal chaos finds meaning. Silence, symbolism, and solitude are the tools of the true alchemist of the soul. If you wish to break the cycle of anxiety, you need to stop seeking answers outside and listen to what emerges from within. But understanding this is still not enough. Now comes the most challenging part. Act, integrate, live the change. This requires choosing between continuing to pretend that everything is fine or taking responsibility for your transformation. In the next and final section, we will reach the climax of this journey. The decisive moment when you look at your anxiety and see that it was never the villain. It was your teacher. Now, it is up to you to decide. Will you continue running or face the truth? It is time to stop deceiving yourself. To see anxiety not as a burden, but as a mirror life placed before you. Everything you felt, pressure in the chest, silent anguish, the feeling of being on the verge of falling apart, were not failures. They were signs, internal screams asking for reconnection, wholeness, and truth. You spent your life trying to fit in, trying to be enough, trying to look okay. Anxiety doesn't want you to just look okay. It wants you to be. It didn't arise to destroy, but because something in you was already broken and needs to be rebuilt. It hurts because it requires detachment, demands leaving behind the masks, the roles and old versions of yourself that you carried to survive. You are not here just to survive, but to live fully and become what you always were before the world shaped you with fear and conditioning. As Jung said, what you resist persists. What you accept transforms. Anxiety continues because you resist your truth, the shadow, the genuine pain. But this is the turning point, when you choose to accept your soul's call instead of running from discomfort. Now, the choice is in your hands. You can keep seeking distractions, running from yourself, numbing with temporary solutions. Or you can stop, breathe deeply, and start the real process. Deep, symbolic, transformative. Not because it's easy, but because it's necessary. Your soul is tired of living halfway. If this video touched something in you, leave a phrase in the comments. I choose to look within. This is not just a phrase, it's a commitment, a pact with yourself. And more importantly, share your experience. Your voice could be the mirror someone needs to awaken. If you've made it this far, don't stop now. The next video is also part of this journey. Trust, it's important because transformation does not occur in a single moment. It happens when you persist, even when everything inside you begs to give up. Click on the next video. The journey is just beginning.